6:30 in the morning. My phone kept buzzing. Still half asleep, I fumbled around on the nightstand for it. The screen showed more than 30 messages. The work group chat, old classmates, Emma, even people I hadn't spoken to in years. Every message said almost the same thing. Brady, have you seen it? Open Instagram right now. Oh my God. Malcolm is everywhere. Before I could even process what was happening, Emma called. The second I picked up, she shouted, Brady, where are you? Home. Get outside now. Why, what's going on? Malcolm's campaign just launched. I haven't. All of Manhattan is him. The call ended. I threw on a jacket, grabbed my keys, and ran downstairs. I don't know why. Maybe I just wanted to see Malcolm. Even if only on a billboard. I stepped out of the subway at Times Square and froze. Malcolm was everywhere. A massive LED screen played footage of him walking through the lights. Across the street was his black and white portrait. Further down, a towering billboard with his face looking down over the whole square. Every time the screen changed, the crowd raised their phones to film. Gasps rippled through the air. He's so gorgeous. This has to be the biggest ad campaign of the year. I've never seen a model take over a whole city like this. I looked up, not blinking. Suddenly, my phone rang. It was Malcolm. I picked up. The line was loud on his end. He laughed. You saw it, didn't you? I kept staring at the billboard. Yeah. I'm at the launch event. Vanessa says the campaign is a bigger hit than anyone expected. Congratulations. Thanks. I heard someone calling Malcolm's name. A lot of people. He spoke quickly. I have to go back in. See you tonight? Yeah. Love you. I smiled. Love you too. The call ended. I stood there a few more minutes, feeling proud and strangely distant both at once, because the man on that billboard belonged to the whole world, but the Malcolm I knew belonged only to quiet afternoons in Butler Library. That night, we'd planned to meet at Malcolm's apartment, but by nearly 10 o'clock, he still wasn't back. 11 o'clock, a text came in. He was sorry. The press was keeping him. Midnight, he was on his way. 1 in the morning, the door finally opened. Malcolm walked in. So exhausted he sat straight down on the floor after taking off his shoes. I handed him a glass of water. Long day, huh? He gave a small laugh. The longest yet. I sat down beside him. Was it fun? He was quiet. Then, after a moment, he answered. Yeah. But it was scary too. Why? Today was the first time I couldn't go buy my own coffee. Why not? Someone recognized me. Asked for a photo. Then someone else. In the end, I had to have my assistant get it for me. I looked at him. Malcolm smiled, sad. I missed the days when it was just the two of us at that campus cafe. I missed it too. So much. In the weeks that followed, everything moved at a dizzying pace. Malcolm appeared on magazine covers, on TV shows, in interviews. His social media following jumped from tens of thousands to millions. Wherever we went, someone recognized him. One evening, we tried going to our old favorite restaurant near Columbia. The moment we walked in, one girl recognized Malcolm, then 2 people, then 5. Within 5 minutes, the manager had to move us to a private room. While he signed autographs for fans, Malcolm kept glancing back at me, his eyes full of guilt. On the way home, he held my hand. I'm sorry. For what? For ruining our date. I shook my head. No, it's not your fault. But, he sighed, I miss just holding your hand out on the street. I looked down at our hands, laced together in the dark. On this quiet street, we could still do that. But I knew, quiet streets like this would become rarer and rarer, and people who recognized Malcolm would become more and more common. What I never expected was this. Our biggest challenge wouldn't be his fame. It would be a secret his management company wanted him to keep at all costs. I knew something was wrong the moment Malcolm texted, "Let's talk tonight." No heart emoji. No, I miss you. Just a short, bare line. All day I could barely focus on work. By 7 that evening, I went to his apartment. Malcolm was already there. The living room lights weren't fully on. Only the floor lamp by the window cast a soft yellow glow. He was sitting on the sofa, hands clasped together. That was Malcolm's habit whenever he was tense. I set the takeout bag on the table. "You haven't eaten yet, have you?" He nodded slightly, but didn't open the bag. I sat down across from him. "What's going on?" Malcolm took a deep breath, then pulled a folder of documents from a drawer. He set it in front of me. "Last night, I signed with a new management company." I smiled. "Congratulations." Malcolm didn't smile. He pushed the folder toward me. "Turn to page 17. I did. Right in the middle of the page was a clause highlighted in yellow. The artist's personal image must be approved by the company before being made public, including romantic relationships that may affect media and commercial strategy. I read it again, then looked up. "What does that mean?" Malcolm stared at the floor. "They want me to keep us a secret." The room went completely silent. I tried to stay calm. "Keep it a secret the way we already have been?" Malcolm shook his head slightly. "No, they want. If I'm ever asked, I'll say I'm single." My throat felt dry. "Single? Yeah. While you have a boyfriend? Yeah. While we've been together almost 5 years. Malcolm closed his eyes. "I know. Why?" I asked. "Why would they even ask for that?" Malcolm laughed bitterly. "They say the mysteriously single image will be more appealing. They say if it comes out now, it could hurt several international deals." I looked at the man in front of me, the one who once held my hand in the rain and said, "I'm not ashamed to love you." And now, he was sitting across from me, telling me the world wanted to erase my existence from his life. "Refuse it," I said very quietly. Malcolm looked up. "What? Refuse that clause?" "Brady, you told me once. Nothing was more important than us." "I know." "Then refuse it." Malcolm went quiet for a long time. Long enough that I started to dread the answer. Finally, he spoke. "I already signed it." I said nothing. He rushed to keep going. "But it's only for 2 years. They said just 2 years. After that, everything will be different." I laughed, a very faint laugh, but inside, an ache I couldn't quite name. 2 years. Yeah. So for those 2 years, who am I? Malcolm stood up, came and knelt in front of me, took both my hands. "You're still the person I love. It's just, the world doesn't know it." I looked at him. "Malcolm, yeah, I don't need the whole world to know. I just need, when someone asks, don't deny me." Malcolm's voice broke. "I don't know how." For the first time in years, I saw Malcolm helpless, not in the face of work, not in the face of fame, but in the face of choosing between love and his career. That night, we didn't fight. We didn't raise our voices. We didn't blame each other. We just sat beside each other for a long time. Close to midnight, I stood up. "I'm going home." Malcolm immediately caught my wrist. "Don't. Stay." I turned back, looked at his red, swollen eyes. I knew he still loved me so much, but I also understood. From that day on, we would have to love each other in the shadows. No more holding hands on the street. No more photos taken together. No more carelessly walking side by side through Manhattan. I wrapped my arms around Malcolm, rested my forehead against his. "If one day you feel too tired, remember this. Before the whole world called you Malcolm Reed, there was a boy named Brady who loved you just because you were Malcolm." He held me tightly, his shoulders trembling. I felt his tears soak into my shoulder. Outside the window, light from the enormous billboard still spilled into the apartment. Malcolm's face up there was smiling brilliantly, but the Malcolm in my arms was crying. That was the first time I understood. Some people stand at the very top of the world, and yet all they wish for is an ordinary life. And that same night, a quiet decision was made. A decision that would make me disappear from Malcolm's life. So he would never again have to choose between me and the whole world. I didn't tell Malcolm about my decision. Not yet, at least. The next morning, I woke up in his apartment like any other day. I made coffee, toasted bread, fried 2 eggs. Everything exactly like all the mornings before. If anything was different, it was the silence. Malcolm walked out of the bedroom in the old gray t-shirt he always liked wearing at home. His hair still messy. He came straight up behind me, wrapped his arms around my waist, rested his chin on my shoulder. "Morning." His voice was hoarse. "Morning. I'm sorry." I laughed softly. "You're apologizing the second you wake up?" "Yeah. Because I still haven't thought of a better way to say it." I turned off the stove, turned to look at him. Malcolm looked far more tired than the man on the billboard. Red eyes, dark circles clearly showing. Maybe he hadn't slept either. I reached up and gently touched his cheek. "Eat your breakfast." He caught my hand. "Brady." "Yeah. Don't leave me." That sentence made my heart ache. I didn't answer, just gave a very soft smile. Because sometimes silence is the most painful lie of all. In the weeks that followed, we both tried to act like nothing had happened. Malcolm still went to the office. I still went to work. In the evenings, if he wasn't busy, we'd have dinner together. But we both knew. An invisible wall had appeared. Once we went grocery shopping. While picking out fruit, a young woman recognized Malcolm. She rushed over, thrilled. "Excuse me. Are you Malcolm Reed?" Malcolm smiled politely. "I am. Could I get a photo?" "Of course." I stepped to the side. That was something I always did now. So I wouldn't end up in the picture. So no one would ask questions. After the photo, the girl smiled and asked, "Isn't your girlfriend with you?" I froze. So did Malcolm. It lasted less than 2 seconds. But those 2 seconds felt endless. Then he smiled. "I'm still single." 4 words. Just 4 words. I knew. He was doing exactly what the contract required. I knew. He didn't have an easy choice. But in that exact moment, it felt like someone had quietly erased my name from his life. That night, Malcolm drove me home. The whole ride, neither of us said a word. When the car stopped in front of my building, he finally spoke. "Brady, I'm sorry." I looked out the window. "I know. I didn't want to say that. I know. Are you mad at me?" I turned to him, looked for a long time at the man I loved, then shook my head. No, that was the truth. I wasn't angry at him. I was just in pain. In pain because I understood him. In pain because I knew he was hurting too. And sometimes, understanding each other only makes the pain worse. One weekend, I went home to visit my parents in Seattle. It had been almost 2 years since I'd been back. Mom hugged me tightly the moment she opened the door. Dad was the same as ever, quiet, but he quietly carried my suitcase in for me. After dinner, Mom handed me an old paper box. I was cleaning the attic. Found this. I opened it. Inside were photos from my childhood, and a letter I'd written when I was 12. The handwriting messy and childish. I read it out loud. "When I grow up, I want to be an adult, but I don't want to be alone." I laughed. Mom looked at me. "Are you still afraid of being alone?" I stayed quiet. Then, after a moment, answered, "No, I'm only afraid of the person I love being alone." Mom didn't ask anything more, just took my hand. "Brady, yeah, whatever you decide. Don't forget to ask your own heart first." That night, I barely slept at all. I thought about Malcolm, about our college years, about the promise made in the rain, about the wallet he gave me, about that small apartment, about all the times he fell asleep on my shoulder. Then I thought about the man standing on billboards all over New York. If one day he had to choose between love and the dream of a lifetime, would I be selfish enough to hold him back? By the time the sun rose, I had my answer, and it was the hardest answer of my entire life. I came back to New York on a Sunday evening. The city was as crowded as ever, the LED screens still blazing, and Malcolm was still up there. I pulled my suitcase through Times Square, This time I didn't stop. I only looked up at him once, then smiled. "You're doing great," I said quietly, not to the billboard, but to the man I loved. That evening, I asked Malcolm to meet me at the place we'd first met. The 4th floor of Butler Library. So many years had passed. Almost nothing had changed. Still the same big window overlooking the trees. Still the same old wooden tables. Still that familiar smell of books. Malcolm walked in, wearing a gray hoodie, the old one from our college days. Maybe he'd worn it on purpose. The moment he saw me, he smiled. "I remember this place." "So do I." We sat down at the very same table as before, silent for a long while. Finally, I took the leather wallet he'd once given me out of my bag, set it on the table. He saw the faded lettering. "Wherever life takes us, come home to me." Malcolm smiled softly. "You still have it?" "Yeah. I carry it every day." His eyes reddened. "Brady." I took a deep breath. "Let me speak first." He nodded. "Okay." I looked straight into his eyes, the eyes that had made my heart race the very first time we met. "I've thought about this a lot, and I realized I don't love the spotlight. I love Malcolm, the guy who once split his last hamburger with me, who brought coffee to the library, who's afraid of the cold, who always wanted to take my picture. None of that has ever changed." Malcolm's tears started falling. I kept going. "What's changed is the circumstances, not your heart." He bowed his head. "I'm sorry." I shook my head. "Don't apologize anymore. You've apologized more than enough already." I smiled, a very soft smile. "Malcolm, yeah. I don't want to be the reason you carry guilt. I don't want every time you stand in front of a camera, you have to wonder whether you've hurt me. Brady." He gripped my hands tightly. "Don't say any more." But I kept going. "Let's break up." Malcolm immediately shook his head. "No, I don't agree to that. I'll cancel the contract. I took both his hands in mine. "No, you'll regret it." "I won't regret it." "You will. Your future is something I'll always be proud of. It shouldn't end because of me." Malcolm broke down crying. For the first time since we'd met, I saw him cry that hard. "I don't need to be famous," he choked out. "I just need you." I was crying too. "I know. But one day, you'll ask yourself, what if I hadn't given up back then? How different would my life have been?" "I don't want you carrying that question for the rest of your life." We held each other. For a long time, neither of us said anything more, because we both understood. This wasn't the end of our love. It was the end of one stretch of the road. 2 years passed. I became creative director at a design firm. Pumpkin was still just as chubby as ever. Life gradually settled into peace. I no longer avoided walking through Times Square, because the billboards changed eventually anyway. New faces appeared. New campaigns began. Only one thing never changed. I still quietly kept up with Malcolm. Then, one morning in early October, my phone got a message from a familiar number. "His contract's over." Just those 3 words. I read it over and over, my heart pounding like I was a freshman again. Less than a minute later, a second message came in. This time, he doesn't have to say he's single anymore. I stood frozen in the middle of the office. My phone buzzed again. "He's at Butler Library, at the same table as before. If you still think of that place as home, he'll be waiting." I didn't reply. I grabbed my coat, ran out of the office, cut across the crowded streets, got on the familiar train. When I walked into the library, Malcolm was standing by the window, still in the gray hoodie, still that same smile. Only difference, this time he was no longer a man who had to hide his own love. He walked toward me. No manager, no contract, no wary glances left to give. In the middle of the crowded library, Malcolm took my hand, so naturally, as if it was something that should have happened a long time ago. "Brady." "Yeah, I'm home." I smiled, tears rolling down. "Welcome home." Outside the window, The maple leaves were starting to turn red again, just like that autumn we first met. And I finally understood. Some people travel very far in pursuit of a dream. Some loves have to learn how to wait. But if two hearts still turn toward each other, then even through a city as vast as New York, in the end, they will always find their way back home.